every Batman film ranked. Before we start, a couple of quick disclaimers. First, this list is only about the live-action Batman films. We'll do the animated ones separately, or depending on when you're watching this, maybe I've already done that and it's somewhere else on this channel. Remember to subscribe, by the way. Second, I'm not including team-ups, spin-offs, or films where Batman shares billing. So, no Batman vs. Superman, no Justice League, no Joker, with my apologies to Ben Affleck. And third, I'm also not including the 1943 and 1949 Batman serials because they were serials, not films, obviously. Right then, every live-action Batman film ranked. And yes, this is subjective, deeply subjective. Batman fans can barely agree on what the best Batsuit is, never mind the best film. But I've tried to balance personal taste with the actual strengths of each movie. So, let's go in reverse order. At number 9, Batman and Robin from 1997, directed by Joel Schumacher with George Clooney as Batman. The major villains here are Mr. Freeze, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Poison Ivy, played by Uma Thurman, with Alicia Silverstone also joining the cast as Batgirl. Now look, this film has become a punchline, and I understand why. It's wildly over the top, aggressively toyetic, absolutely packed with puns, and not remotely interested in subtlety. If you like your Batman dark, gothic, and tortured, this film basically looks you in the eye and says, no thanks, here's a neon ice skating henchman. But I'm not trying to be overly critical here because there is a strange kind of entertainment value in how committed this film is to its own nonsense. Clooney himself has joked about the film over the years, and Schumacher was clearly making something knowingly flamboyant and comic booky. It just pushed so far into camp excess that it snapped the tone of the series clean in half. The basic plot is that Batman and Robin have to stop Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy while also dealing with infighting in the Bat family. That sounds fine on paper. In execution, though, it's one of the loudest blockbuster films ever made. There are Bat credit cards, glowing gangs, absurd costumes, and enough ice puns to cool Heathrow Airport. At number 8, Batman Forever from 1995, also directed by Joel Schumacher, but this time with Val Kilmer as Batman. The main villains are Two-Face, played by Tommy Lee Jones, and the Riddler, played by Jim Carrey. Chris O'Donnell also joins the cast as Robin. This is where the series starts pivoting away from Burton's dark, gothic vision and towards something brighter, louder, and more commercially playful. Warner Brothers wanted a lighter tone after Batman Returns, and that shift is all over this film. Now, I actually think Batman Forever is better than its reputation in some ways. It's messy, yes. It's tonally strange, yes. Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey appear to be acting in completely different universes, yes. But it is still a hugely enjoyable watch. Carey's Riddler in particular is one of those mid-90s performances that could only have happened at that exact moment in Hollywood history. The plot follows Batman as he takes on the Riddler and Two-Face while wrestling with his own trauma and reluctantly becoming a mentor figure to Dick Grayson. It's a more psychological film than people sometimes remember, even if it delivers that psychology in the middle of a sensory sugar rush. At number 7, Batman the movie from 1966, directed by Leslie H. Martinson with Adam West as Batman. And the villains, not 1, or 2, or 3, or 5, but 4. The Joker, played by Cesar Romero, the Penguin, played by Burgess Meredith, the Riddler, played by Frank Gorshin, and Catwoman, played by Lee Merriweather. This film is pure camp, pure, unfiltered, glorious camp. It came directly out of the TV series and hit cinemas in 1966, only a couple of months after the end of the show's first season. It is colourful, ridiculous, cheerful, and completely unapologetic about what it is. And honestly, I've got a lot of affection for it, because while it is obviously silly, it also understands something important about Batman as a pop culture icon, that he can survive tonal extremes. He can be gothic and brooding, yes, but he can also fight a shark using bat shark repellent and somehow remain Batman. That is range. The plot is wonderfully daft. Batman and Robin take on the United Underworld after the villains get a hold of a dehydrator device that can reduce people to dust. This is not realism. This is not urban crime noir. This is pure comic strip chaos and pure 60s. Adam West plays it with a straight face, so it becomes its own kind of genius. At number 6, Batman Begins from 2005, directed by Christopher Nolan with Christian Bale as Batman. The major villains are Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson, Carmine Falcone, played by Tom Wilkinson, and Scarecrow, played brilliantly by Cillian Murphy. This film had a very difficult job. It had to resurrect Batman on film after Batman and Robin, and it had to persuade audiences that a grounded, serious Batman movie could work in the 21st century. It absolutely succeeded. What I've always liked about Batman Begins is that it's really an origin story in the fullest sense. Not just here are the pearls, here are the bats, here is the suit. It takes its time with Bruce Wayne's fear, anger, training, and moral code. Nolan and David S. Goyer build Batman as an idea before they build him as a spectacle. The plot follows Bruce Wayne from the murder of his parents through his years of drifting and training before returning to Gotham to become Batman and confront corruption, organized crime, Scarecrow's fear toxin, and Ra's al Ghul's larger plan for the city. It's a proper reinvention, and it laid the foundation for everything that followed in Nolan's trilogy. At number 5, Batman Returns from 1992, directed by Tim Burton, with Michael Keaton returning as Batman. The major villains here are the Penguin, played by Danny DeVito, and Catwoman, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, with Christopher Walken's Max Schreck acting as a key antagonist as well. This is one of the strangest major superhero films ever made, and I mean that as a compliment. Burton took the success of Batman and somehow made the follow-up even more gothic, more sexually charged, more expressionistic, and just generally more Burton. Michael Keaton is great again, but this is one of those Batman films where the villains dominate the memory. Danny DeVito's Penguin is grotesque, tragic, and deeply weird. Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is still one of the most iconic performances in comic book movie history. If you asked a lot of people to picture Batman Returns, they'd probably think of Pfeiffer first, and honestly, that's fair. The story sees Batman trying to stop the Penguin's rise in Gotham politics, while Catwoman emerges as a volatile figure caught between vengeance, trauma, and seduction. Set at Christmas and soaked in snow, shadows, and black latex, it feels like a superhero film made by someone who had read too many fairy tales and decided they all needed to be a bit more sinister. At number 4, The Batman from 2022, directed by Matt Reeves, with Robert Pattinson as Batman. The main villain is the Riddler, played by Paul Dano, while Zoe Kravitz plays Selina Kyle, and Colin Farrell brilliantly plays the Penguin. This film had a very clever angle. Instead of trying to out-Nolan, it lent into detective noir. This is a younger Batman, only his second year of crime fighting, and Reeves makes Gotham feel like it's soaked, diseased, a corrupt city where Batman is less superhero and more nocturnal detective. Pattinson's version is very internal, very wounded, very emo if we're being honest, but in a way that actually works for this stage of Bruce Wayne's life. And Paul Dano's Riddler is radically different from earlier screen versions. Less flamboyant trickster, more terrifying serial killer with a grievance against Gotham's elite. The plot follows Batman as he investigates a series of murders committed by the Riddler, uncovering corruption that reaches into the city's institutions and touches his own family history. It is long, moody, and perhaps a little bit indulgent in places, but I really admire its atmosphere and ambition. It's a Batman film that genuinely wants to investigate something rather than just blow things up, although it does eventually, remember, it's a Batman film and blows things up. At number 3, The Dark Knight Rises from 2012, directed by Christopher Nolan, with Christian Bale again as Batman. The major villain, Bane, played by Tom Hardy, is outstanding. Anne Hathaway's Selina Kyle is also a key role, somewhere between sort of anti-hero and thief. This film has always had a fascinating reputation because it lives in the shadow of The Dark Knight, which is an impossible act to follow, and yet I think The Dark Knight Rises deserves a lot of credit for being big, ambitious, emotional, and properly final. It doesn't give us another villain of the week story. It gives us a conclusion. The setup is that Bruce Wayne has been in seclusion for 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight, before Bane's arrival forces him back into action. Gotham is placed under existential threat, and the film turns into something close to a siege epic. Is it perfect? No. Is Bane's voice still one of the great cinematic choices of modern blockbuster history? Absolutely. Tom Hardy turns him into something both theatrical and genuinely menacing. It is amazing, iconic. And Anne Hathaway is excellent as Selina Kyle. I think time has been kind to this film. It may not be the cleanest of the trilogy, but it is a very satisfying conclusion. At number 2, Batman from 1989, directed by Tim Burton, with Michael Keaton as Batman. The major villain is the Joker, played by Jack Nicholson. This is the film that changed everything for Batman on the big screen. Before 1989, the dominant live-action images of Batman for many people were still Adam West and the camp TV era. Burton's film arrived and said, nope, Batman can be gothic, stylish, strange, dangerous, and cool. Keaton's casting was controversial at the time, which feels funny now because he turned out to be a hugely important Batman. But while Keaton is excellent, it is also true that Jack Nicholson absolutely steals the film. His Joker is not subtle, not restrained, not interested in realism. None of that matters. He is magnetic. The plot follows Batman's attempt to stop the Joker's rise in Gotham after the gangster Jack Napier is transformed into the Clown Prince of Crime. The film also introduces Kim Basinger's Vicky Vale and gives us one of the great big screen Gothams, not a realistic city, but a nightmarish Art Deco dreamscape. Also, Danny Elfman's score is iconic and Prince's songs are all over the film's identity too. It is fantastic, beautiful, but not the best Batman. Which brings us to number 1, The Dark Knight from 2008, directed by Christopher Nolan with Christian Bale as Batman. The major villains here are Joker, played by Heath Ledger, Harvey Dent's transformation into Two-Face, played by Aaron Eckhart. There are some rankings where you can be clever and contrarian. This is not one of them. The Dark Knight is number 1. It is not only the best live-action Batman film, it is one of the defining comic book films ever made. What Nolan does here is take everything Batman Begins built and sharpens it. Gotham feels more expansive. The stakes feel larger. The moral dilemmas feel more serious. This isn't just Batman fighting a villain. This is Batman fighting a force of chaos designed to expose the limits of heroism, institutions, and order itself. And then there's Heath Ledger. His Joker is one of those performances that instantly enters film history. Heath Ledger won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor posthumously for this role, with his family accepting the Oscar on his behalf at the 81st Academy Awards. That is one of the most famous Oscar wins of the 21st century, and entirely deserved because he was magnificent, incredible, unbelievable. There are not enough superlatives. The plot, in simple terms, follows Batman, Gordon, and Harvey Dent as they try to dismantle organized crime in Gotham, only for the Joker to drag the city into escalating moral and physical chaos. Harvey Dent's fall into Two-Face gives the film its tragedy, the Joker gives it its unpredictability, and Bale, Oldman, Eckhart, Kane, and the rest of the cast all understand exactly the kind of film they're in. It's gripping, quotable, brilliantly acted, and genuinely influential. For a lot of people, it transcended the superhero movie label entirely and just became a great crime thriller that happened to feature Batman. That is rare. That's why it's number 1. So that's my ranking. At the bottom, the neon chaos of Batman and Robin. At the top, the towering achievement of The Dark Knight. And in between, you've got a full range of what Batman can be on film: camp, gothic, fantasy, psychological melodrama, noir detective story, grounded crime saga, and blockbuster epic. That, more than anything, is why Batman survives every generation. He's one of the most flexible characters in pop culture. Adam West can play him, Michael Keaton can play him, Christian Bale can play him, Robert Pattinson can play him, and somehow all of them still feel recognizably like Batman. Now comes the dangerous bit. Tell me your ranking and be nice about Batman and Robin. Or don't. This is the internet. Let me know in the comments below what you think is the best Batman film and what you think of my rankings of them. Leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Remember to subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this, and I'll see you soon.